Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa is in Washington on a working visit. He will have a breakfast meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris this before heading then to the White House. But on the agenda are issues of trade, climate change, food security, as well as just energy transition. Senior White House aides have confirmed that the war in Ukraine will also be discussed. Let's now discuss this with, of course, Professor David Monyae, Associate Professor of International Relations and Political Sciences at the University of Johannesburg, who is also the Director of the Center for Africa-China Studies. Professor, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. I suppose one would be wondering why this particular visit matters for both South Africa and the United States.
Well, the two countries depend on each other on so many things. I think for the United States, South Africa remains #1 trading partner, a strategic country that has influence on the African continent and in the global south. And for South Africa, US, as you all know, it's #1 economy in the world, most powerful with the influence within multilateral structures. And it's also important to attract investment from this country with more than 600 companies in South Africa and a lot of Americans. And therefore, President Ramaphosa would indeed engage with his counterpart on these important issues of most important to both capitals.
Yeah, we know that there's been a bit of strain between the two countries as of late, since the war between Ukraine and Russia. South Africa almost being praised to take a stance. They've been quite neutral, Prof, saying that they are more for conflict resolution, they're more for dialogue, and they refuse to either, side with one country over the other. Do you think that will be top of the agenda, especially following the visit that we recently saw by the Secretary of State?
I really do not think that this will be core in the discussions between the two heads of states. However, outside the official meetings, when President Ramaphosa meets the journalists, I think they'll undermine almost everything else discussed and prioritize this matter, given the fact that it is the most important thing for most people in the United States and in Europe. But if you look at the situation, I think the United States is coming to an understanding that South Africa is a non-aligned. It does not want to get involved. It has good relationship with the US, Europe, as well as with Russia and China. And therefore, in situations such as this, South Africa wants to play a critical role in bringing the warring parties to a negotiating table.
Right. And just still staying with that point, I mean, where does this visit by South Africa place the country in its relationship with BRICS? We know that there's a bit of also tension there, not only with Russia and the US, but China as well. Will it not be awkward for South Africa, given that we're still much an active partner in BRICS? And from what we're seeing, it seems that there are other BRICS, countries that have ongoing tensions with the US.
It's the situation that each and every country will pursue its national interests. And therefore, I think in this instance, South Africa will pursue its interests with the United States, independent of all other actors. And as it goes to Russia or China, it will do the same. And I think at the heart of this problem is this perception within the United States and Western countries that they have this power to influence or to push South Africa to follow their interests. I think that's where the tension lies. But beyond that, I think the two leaders will find each other on these issues, understanding and respecting each other's interests, and concentrate on what matters: investment, climate change, as we go to Egypt in November for COP27. So there are a number of other issues, conflicts on the African continent, and I think South Africa will have a case that the United States must lead in the reform of United Nations, as well as play a critical role in other conflicts other than Ukraine.
Just in my last question to you, Prof, if I may, the visit as well to London by President Cyril Ramaphosa is one where he'll be attending Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. And I mean, after the passing of the Queen, there's been ongoing debate about where South Africa stands in terms of addressing, Britain in as far as it colonizing South Africa. The crown jewel was also addressed. Some people saying that it needs to be returned back to South Africa. It was not lawfully taken from the country. The EFF coming out with a statement, not necessarily mourning the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, but saying that she didn't contribute any positivity to the country. What's then the significance, do you think, of President Cyril Ramaphosa attending the funeral? And should we be expecting any engagements whatsoever, robust engagements in terms of the past and our history that we share with Britain? Should we expect that between the President and King Charles?
I doubt very much that they will have time for such discussions, given the fact that this is a funeral and there will be heads of states from all over the world. London is crowded to really discuss issues at the bilateral. However, the mere fact that President Ramaphosa has been invited to the funeral, it's important. The relationship between South Africa and UK will continue. However, the issues of colonial and the destructive role that the monarchy played, it's an ongoing issue, and perhaps King Charles III might start addressing these issues. There are a lot of hidden issues, the return of remains, including of some leaders from South Africa that were killed by the British, and they had taken to Britain, and therefore there are a lot of deep-seated issues that UK as well as King Charles III should address.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. I appreciate you speaking to us this morning about this matter. Professor David Monyae, Associate Professor of International Relations and Political Sciences at the University of Johannesburg, where he's also the Director of the Center for Africa-China Studies.